I'm Professor Denis Papazian, Professor of Russian and Armenian History at the University of Michigan, Dearborn, and Director of the Knights of Vartan-sponsored Armenian Research Center, which is located here on this campus. The film which you're about to see is not designed to be pleasant or entertaining, but it is important, very important. It involves an important case of human rights, of people being murdered and driven from their own homes into exile with the complicity of the government which is sworn to protect them. The story involves three people: the Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh, the ancient Armenian province of Artsakh, and the Azerbaijani people. The Azerbaijani people came on the scene during the Middle Ages. They're Turkic, and most of them are Shia Muslims. The Armenian people have been in the area since 600 BC. They were converted to Christianity at a very early date and have lived in that area on and off with independence until the present time. The third are the Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh, an ancient Armenian province inhabited first in the 2nd century BC, inhabited by brave Armenian Highlanders who preserved and fought for their independence right up until modern times, indeed preserving their independence when Armenia itself lost its freedom. Armenia has an ancient history. It goes back to 600 BC, was involved in all the ancient empires of the old ancient world, the Persian Empire, the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, a very complicated story. Finally, in the Middle Ages, during the time of the Crusades, the Armenians finally lost their independence altogether. Armenia fell half to the Russian Empire and half to the Ottoman Empire. And they lived rather respectable lives in the Russian Empire until the revolution of 1917. At that time, the Ottoman Empire fell, the Russian Empire fell, and Armenia established its independent free state for a period of a few years. Unfortunately for the Armenians, however, the Russian Empire was reestablished under the guise of the Soviet Union. The Ottoman Empire's heir was the new Turkey, and with the power of Turkey and Russia coming forth, Armenia had to choose between them. Chose what it perceived to be the best choice under the circumstances, to unite with the emerging Soviet state. At first, the leaders of the new Soviet state recognized that Artsakh should be reestablished, reunited with Armenia, Artsakh being Nagorno-Karabakh's Armenian and old name. This lasted for a year until the resurgent Turkey under Kemal Ataturk showed itself to be the possibility of being a great power, and Lenin decided, perhaps under Stalin's influence, that what should be done rather was to resubmit Nagorno-Karabakh, Artsakh, to Azerbaijani rule in order to please the emerging Turkish power bloc. This was an unfortunate decision, because the Armenians from that very day, the ones in Nagorno-Karabakh, were denied their schools, saw their churches closed, saw prejudice against employment, a lack of food, a lack of facilities, a lack of economic development. The Armenians complained as much as they could. They sent petitions to the central government. But up until the 1970s, these petitions were roundly ignored. Finally, with the emergence of Gorbachev and Perestroika, in 1985, the Armenians began to speak out more vocally, more strongly. They demanded finally a reunification of Armenia with Nagorno-Karabakh, an end to this artificial separation. And then, unfortunately for the Armenians, a great earthquake took place. And Armenia, rather than being an advantage to Gorbachev and his Perestroika, became an impediment, economically speaking. And that sympathy, which at first existed, was lost. And what we see finally is that Nagorno-Karabakh was taken under the direct rule of the central government of the Soviet Union for a few months, but then after the complaint of the Azerbaijanis, it was decided to place Nagorno-Karabakh under Azerbaijan. We're only talking about a small area, a small number of people, about 179,000 in Nagorno-Karabakh, 75% of whom are Armenians, people who have lived there from time immemorial. And now the question arises, what will happen to these people? Unfortunately for the Armenians of Nagorno-Karabakh, before the demise finally of the USSR, Soviet troops, Azerbaijani irregulars, and Ministry of Internal Affairs, MVD troops, all not only conspired but moved in with modern fighting equipment, destroyed Armenian homes, destroyed Armenian villages, killed Armenian people, and drove them out of their ancestral homeland. The story we were about to see, the testimony of people who were actually involved in these events, is not a happy story. But the fact of the matter is that life in general is filled with unhappiness and problems. And we as human beings cannot ignore them. We must confront them. We must assert our humanity, and we must aid these people who are in need.
Еще один пример бесчеловечной жестокости. Врачам потребовалось немало усилий, чтобы спасти жизнь шестимесячного малыша. Азербайджанские молодчики бросили его на электрическую плиту.
So we see in this film some shots of Armenia, beautiful, lovely country, generally a happy people, constructive, positive, eager to be a part of the modern world, eager to accept a market economy, eager to practice democracy, eager to enjoy having Armenia as the first United States embassy in the Caucasus region, eager to have Peace Corps workers come over, eager to participate in the United Nations. And at the point we are today, it is important that all people of mankind of goodwill try to see that this blemish on the record of mankind somehow be resolved, that we all let our voices be heard, that justice be done, and that we, particularly those of us who live in America, will not rest until this issue is resolved.